They thought you were soft, easy to break, a whisper lost in the howling winds of this world. They mistook your silence for surrender, your stillness for weakness, your patience for passivity. They saw only the surface, the calm before the storm, and assumed that was all there was to you. But they forgot one thing: the sky does not warn before it roars. The tide does not seek permission before it rises. And you were never meant to be gentle in the face of what tried to destroy you. For too long they have spoken over you, written your name in pencil so they could erase you when it suited them. They have dictated the chapters of your life as if they held the pen, as if you were nothing more than a footnote in their grand design. They told you who you were supposed to be, how far you were allowed to go, and who you should never dare to become. And maybe, for a time, you believed them. Maybe you let their voices drown out your own, let their expectations carve the limits of your existence. Maybe you played small, folded yourself into neat corners, whispered when you wanted to scream, because you thought that was the price of acceptance. But storms do not ask to be accepted. Storms do not fit into the fragile frames of others' expectations. Storms break those frames. This is not about them. This is not about proving them wrong or making them see what they refuse to acknowledge. This is about you. This is about the fire they tried to smother, the light they tried to dim, the force they underestimated. And now, the storm is rising. You feel it, don't you? The shift in the air, the tension in your bones, the undeniable weight of something inside you that refuses to stay small any longer. This is not just another speech, not another feel-good message meant to soothe you into complacency. No, this is a battle cry, a reckoning, a declaration of war against every lie they fed you, every doubt they planted, every time they made you feel like you were not enough. Because you are enough, more than enough, and it's time the world knew it. But let's be clear, this is not going to be easy. Becoming the storm means embracing the chaos inside you. It means tearing down the walls of everything that kept you caged, breaking apart the version of yourself that was built for their comfort instead of your freedom. It means looking in the mirror and seeing, truly seeing, the raw, unfiltered power that has always been there, waiting for you to claim it. So, tell me, who are they? Who are the voices that told you that you were too much, too loud, too ambitious, too different? Who were the ones who looked at you and decided without knowing your battle that you would never make it? Was it the ones who never saw your worth because they were too busy measuring you against their own insecurities? Was it the ones who benefited from keeping you small, who thrived on your self-doubt? Or was it the whispers in your own mind, the echoes of fear and failure that convinced you to stay where it was safe, where it was familiar? Whoever they are, they do not matter anymore. Because this is your story, and they don't get to write it. Feel the weight of that truth. Let it settle into your bones. Let it take root in the deepest parts of you. Because from this moment on, there is no turning back. The old you, the one who waited for permission, the one who let fear dictate their choices, the one who lived in the shadow of doubt, is gone. What stands in their place is something untamed, something unstoppable, something they can no longer ignore. And here's the thing about storms. They don't just survive. They consume. They transform. They rewrite the landscape of everything in their path. You were never fragile. You were never a passing cloud, something temporary, something forgettable. No, you were always the storm. They just didn't see it coming. But they will. They don't see the wounds, do they? They see the way you carry yourself now. Strong, unshaken, head held high. They see resilience where there used to be doubt, confidence where there once was hesitation. But they don't see how you got here. They don't see the nights you spent staring at the ceiling, your mind running in circles, replaying every moment where the world told you that you weren't enough. They don't hear the voices in your head that whispered, you should give up, because people don't ask about the weight you've carried. They only notice when you refuse to bend under it. You didn't just wake up like this. No one is born with armor already fitted to their skin. You had to forge it, piece by piece, scar by scar, betrayal by betrayal. Every wound left its mark. Every failure, every rejection, every time they looked at you and decided you weren't worth the effort, it all settled deep in your bones, shaping you into someone they never expected. And the worst part, the part that still lingers in the corners of your mind, it wasn't just strangers who made you feel like you were less. It was the people you trusted, the ones you loved, the ones who were supposed to protect you. They told you what you could and couldn't be. They set limits on your potential before you even had a chance to dream. They planted doubt inside you, and maybe, just maybe, you let it grow for a while. You believed them when they said you weren't strong enough, smart enough, talented enough. You let their words define you, their expectations box you in, their fears become your own. And then the world reinforced it. You tried to rise, but they pushed you down. You tried to speak, but they talked over you. Every time you thought, this time will be different, life showed you that the rules weren't made for people like you. You were too much or too little, too loud or too invisible, too ambitious or too complacent. You were always too something, never just enough. So you shrank yourself. You folded your edges in, you made yourself smaller, easier to digest. Maybe if you fit the mold they wanted, you thought, they would accept you. Maybe if you played by their rules, they would finally see your worth. But no matter how much you gave, it was never enough. And when you realized that, when you finally understood that you could set yourself on fire for them, and they would still demand more, something inside you broke. Not in the way they wanted, not in the way that would leave you weak and defeated. No, this breaking was different. It was a kind of break that made room for something new, something stronger, because here's the truth they never wanted you to figure out. Pain is not just a weapon used against you. It is also a fire that can fuel you. Every rejection, every insult, every failure, they thought it would crush you. They thought it would silence you. They thought it would keep you obedient, compliant, stuck. But pain doesn't just destroy, it transforms. And the more they tried to bury you, the deeper your roots grew. The voices in your head, the ones that still echo with every past failure, every moment of doubt, they are loud, yes, but they are not the truth. You have lived too long in the shadows of those voices. You have carried their weight on your back, mistaking their doubts for reality. But I am telling you now, it is time to lay it down, because you were never meant to stay in the ashes. You were never meant to carry their fear as your own. You were never meant to let the past hold you hostage. No more. You have felt the weight of it, yes. You have walked through fire and come out scarred. You have seen people turn their backs on you, heard them laugh when you said you had dreams bigger than the space they allotted for you. But what happens when pain is no longer your prison, but your fuel? What happens when you stop running from it and start using it? What happens when every wound becomes proof that you survived, that you are stronger than they ever imagined? They mistook your silence for surrender. They didn't know you were learning how to roar. You don't forget the moment when everything inside you shatters. You don't forget the night the weight became too much, when your knees finally buckled under the pressure, when the walls closed in and you realized, this is it, this is the bottom. They don't talk about this part, do they? The part where you're staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., too tired to sleep, too numb to cry. They're numb. The part where the silence is loud, pressing against your ribs like a vice. The part where you stop answering messages, stop showing up, stop pretending. They see resilience and think it's something you were born with, but they don't see the nights you spent whispering to yourself, just one more day. No one tells you how hard it is to hold on when you're unraveling. No one tells you how exhaustion feels when it's not just physical, but soul deep. The kind of exhaustion that makes you wonder what the point of it all is. No one tells you how loud the doubts can be when the world goes quiet. You have been there, haven't you? Maybe you're still there now. Maybe you know exactly what it feels like to stand at the edge of your own breaking point, staring down into the abyss, wondering if it's worth it to keep fighting. And the worst part? No one knew. No one saw. Because pain doesn't always look like screaming, or breaking things, or falling apart in a way that people can recognize. Sometimes, pain looks like showing up, smiling, saying, I'm fine, when you're anything but. Sometimes pain looks like holding everything together so well that no one realizes you're bleeding underneath. And then comes the fall. The moment when everything crashes down, when the weight becomes unbearable. Maybe it was a rejection that broke you. Maybe it was one final betrayal after years of being let down. Maybe it was just the slow, steady erosion of hope, piece by piece, until one day you woke up and realized you had nothing left to give. And when you hit the ground, it wasn't soft, it wasn't kind, it was brutal, it was suffocating, it was rock bottom. This is the part where people usually say, things get better, but we're not there yet. Because before you rise, you have to understand what the fall gave you. At first, it feels like nothing, like loss, like emptiness, like failure. But what if I told you that this moment, this lowest, rawest, realest moment, was exactly what you needed? Because here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. There's nowhere lower to go, and that means it's the perfect place to build. The moment you hit the ground, you have a choice. Stay there, or start clawing your way back up. It doesn't happen all at once. There is no instant epiphany, no magic switch that turns everything around. There is only a flicker, a tiny, almost imperceptible shift deep inside you. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's defiance. Maybe it's just the refusal to let this be the end of your story. And suddenly that flicker grows. What if this pain is not the end, but the beginning? What if falling apart is just making space for something stronger? What if rock bottom isn't your burial ground? It's your foundation. Because do you know what happens when lightning strikes the earth? Fire is born, and you are about to burn brighter than they ever thought possible. There comes a moment when something inside you shifts. It doesn't happen all at once. It doesn't come with flashing lights or some grand revelation. No, it happens quietly, deep in the marrow of your bones. A decision, a line drawn in the sand. You realize that the world is not going to change for you. The people who doubted you will not suddenly see your worth. The ones who left you in the dark will not come back with lanterns. No one is coming to save you. And for the first time, that doesn't scare you. Because you do not need saving. You are the reckoning. For so long, you thought the fight was about them, about proving them wrong, about making them see. But now you understand. It was never about them. It was about you. It was about reclaiming what was always yours. It was about taking every wound, every rejection, every ounce of pain they threw at you and turning it into something unstoppable. They tried to drown you in doubt, but you became the flood. They wanted you to stay small, to shrink, to obey the rules they set for you, but you were never meant to be contained. A wildfire cannot be tamed. A storm does not ask permission to rage. You feel it now, don't you? The fire in your chest, the surge of something electric in your veins. This is no longer about survival. This is about domination. They will not remember you as the one who almost made it. They will not remember you as the one who was broken, who struggled, who fought silently in the background. No, they will remember you as the storm they never saw coming, because you are done running. You are done hiding. You are done waiting for the world to change when you were always meant to change it yourself. You are no longer running from the storm. You are the storm. They don't recognize you anymore, do they? The ones who underestimated you. The ones who smirked when you dared to dream too big. The ones who whispered behind your back, betting against your success. The ones who mistook your patience for weakness, your kindness for naivety, your silence for submission. They look at you now, and something in their eyes shifts. Confusion and fear. Because the version of you they knew, the one who second-guessed, the one who played small, the one who swallowed their words instead of spitting fire, is gone. This is the reckoning. They thought you'd stay in the background, waiting for permission to rise. They thought they could break you with their doubt, keep you caged in expectations that were never yours to begin with. What happens when the thing they dismissed becomes the thing they fear? What happens when the one they overlooked becomes the one they can't ignore? You are no longer someone they can dismiss. You are no longer at their mercy. And oh, how the power dynamic has changed. Because here's the truth they never wanted you to figure out. You were never weak. You were never dependent on their approval. You were never asking for a seat at their table. You were always meant to build your own. Look around. The doors they shut in your face, you don't need them anymore. The validation they withheld, it means nothing to you now. The voices that once held power over your mind, silenced. Because strength isn't given. It isn't inherited. It isn't bestowed upon the chosen few. Strength is forged in fire, in resistance, in the refusal to break even when breaking seems easier. And you have been through the fire. You have stood in the storm. You have become the force they never saw coming. Let them stare, let them wonder, let them scramble to make sense of what you've become, because this is your reckoning. And it is only the beginning. This is the moment they never expected. Not the moment you fought back. Not the moment you struggled. Not even the moment you survived. No. This is the moment you transformed. Because power is not in revenge. Power is not in proving them wrong. Power is not found in screaming the loudest or forcing your way into spaces that were never built for you. Power is in certainty. It is in knowing exactly who you are. It is in standing firm, unshaken, untamed, unapologetic. It is in never again asking for permission to exist as the fullest version of yourself. The old you, the one who bent to fit the mold, the one who held their tongue, second-guessed, waited for approval before stepping forward, gone. They thought they wrote your story. They thought they dictated your ending. They were wrong. Because this story was always yours. And now you are the one holding the pen. No more whispering. No more waiting. No more making yourself small so others can feel big. They wanted you to break. Instead, you became thunder. Your presence is no longer something they can ignore. Your voice is no longer something they can silence. Your power is no longer something they can strip away, because it was never theirs to begin with. You are unstoppable. You are unapologetic. You are unbreakable. And the world is about to learn exactly what that means. They thought you were just a storm. Powerful, yes, but fleeting. Something wild, something fierce, something momentary. A force that would rise, rage, and then pass. But storms don't exist in isolation. They are born from something greater. They are born from the sky itself. And that's when you realize you were never just the storm. You were never just the chaos, the fire, the force of destruction and change. You were always the sky. Endless, uncontained, infinite. Your power was never about proving them wrong. It was never about showing them what they missed, forcing them to acknowledge you, making them regret their doubts, because they were never the point. This was always about you, about stepping into the vast, limitless potential that was inside you from the beginning, about becoming everything you were meant to be, without apology, without hesitation, without restraint. You don't exist to fit into their boxes. You don't exist to meet their expectations. You don't exist to be palatable, to be pleasing, to be easy to understand. You exist to be everything they never saw coming. And now that you know who you are, what will you do with it? Because this isn't the end of the story. This is the moment before the beginning. The moment before the world learns that you are not something temporary. You are something unstoppable. No more waiting, no more hesitation, no more standing in the shadows of your own life, waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right permission to rise. This is it. This is the moment. No one is coming to hand you your power. No one is coming to pave your path. No one is going to open the doors that were built to keep you out. So what will you do? Will you shrink? Will you stay silent? Will you let fear, doubt, and hesitation steal the fire inside you? Or will you become the force you were always meant to be? Decide. Decide to be relentless. Decide to be unstoppable. Decide to take up space, to speak with authority, to walk with the weight of someone who knows exactly who they are and refuses to be anything less. Because power isn't given. It isn't bestowed. It isn't something you earn through obedience or patience. Power is claimed, power is taken, power is owned. And if you are waiting for permission, let this be it. Rise, move, speak, create, lead. Shake the ground beneath you. Set fire to the limitations they placed on you. Take your place in this world like you were always meant to. Because lightning never asks for permission to strike, and neither should you. This is your moment. Now, what will you do with it?